Alright, so I'm going to be showing you guys a really fun build that's interesting in a lot of ways, and I call this the Keen Observer Deadeye. And how this works is you don't actually need to land steel. So it's kind of different to a lot of the thief builds in the past, well pretty much all of them, where you need to land steel to do your burst damage. Instead, what this build relies on is positioning to maximize your DPS with the rifle and to get your burst from quickness from the Deadeye trait and from Trick. So first of all, it's sword, pistol, rifle with Marauder Scholar. Highest DPS here. Well, probably Zerk enemies higher, but don't run that. And you take crit strikes with no quarter, practice tolerance, and Assassin's Fury. And what that does is basically just keeps your might and fury uptime as high as possible while also giving you stats for just maximizing your damage. The difference between taking crit strikes and deadly arts is that deadly arts is very burst oriented, and while it does have very good DPS increases with exposed weakness, and panic strike is really good for bursting, you don't really need that with this build because you're not really trying to land, like a lot of the things with deadly arts is landing steel to get your mug damage and to get your poison and weakness as well, which are all really good, but most of the defense of this build is going to be from positioning and not from weakness, which prevents counter pressure in normal like melee thief builds. So instead we just maximize damage with crit strikes, and we get our survivability from Trickster instead of trying to steal boons with Bountiful Theft. So this is another trait that you want to land steel with, but the way that the Deadeye steel works, it doesn't really synergize with landing steel or trying to like time your steel at certain times because it doesn't port you in, right? So it's sort of like you want to put Deadeye's mark somewhere in your rotation to give you the quickness, but in this build all it does is give you quickness, and if you land it you will get a stolen ability as well, but other than that landing steel does nothing. So all you really want to do is to get the quickness from using your mark. So that allows you to take Trickster, which is a really good trait. It's actually amazing, but the only reason it's not used is because Bountiful Theft is just better usually. So what Trickster allows you to do is to make your heal skill Withdraw, which is already one of the best heals in the game, lower cooldown and remove a condition. And why that's so good is because it already removes 4 conditions. So removing that 5th condition basically is like kind of, it ensures that you'll cleanse something really important with that last condition cleanse. So that's really good. You also have haste and roll for initiative being 20% reduced cooldown as well. And you have lesser haste, which is more quickness as well. The thing with this build is that you need to get your fury out early so that you can start proccing no quarter and Assassin's Fury, which is when you gain fury you gain might. So it helps to get your fury out early so that you can keep proccing it with no quarter. So how you do that is you either hit something with this trait, Ferocious Strike, or it's this one, Unrelenting Strikes. When you hit something below 90%, you'll get Fury. But this has a 10-second ICD, so if you run out of Fury somehow, you can also get Fury from Haste and from the Lesser Haste as well. And getting that Fury out also helps to cap your crit chance, which works really well with Deadeye as well, because when you crit, you get double the malice from your attacks. So I have 55% crit chance right now, and while kneeling, because of silent scope, I will have an extra 20% here. You'll see that. See the 3-round burst, which is the kneel ability, gets an extra 20% crit chance. So you get 20% crit chance from kneeling, 20% crit chance from fury, and that'll put you at 50 plus 20 is 75, plus 20 is 95. And then from keen observer, you will get that extra 5% if you're above 90%. So you can cap out on crit chance while kneeling and have fury and be above 90%, which means that you can guarantee a crit, and you know that's going to ensure that you do a lot of damage every single time. And quick pockets is another thing that allows you to just regen your initiative, because you don't need sleight of hand to daze people, because you're not trying to land steal, you're just using steal as a way to get quickness. So quick pockets is really good here. And malicious intent gives you malice generation as well, on top of your high crit chance, which gives you insane malice generation. And then obviously be quick or be killed is a really good trait, because it gives you the quickness that you need to make up for lacking deadly arts, because deadly arts is where a lot of the burst of thief comes in, but quickness can also make up for that with bursting as well. So another thing that it gives you is 200 power and 200 precision. So technically you've got more than 100% crit chance while you have quickness. So yeah, you don't need like pack runes, because your crit chance is high enough. You want Scholar to keep those crits hitting with massive modifiers. But another thing is, while under the effect of quickness, you get this, not just after you steal, but anytime you get quickness. So lesser haste and haste will give you an extra 200 and an extra 200 power and precision. So keeping your uptime of quickness is really good damage, and it's just going to make you do a lot of damage. And the lacking of deadly arts is made up for with the quickness uptime, because you can burst with quickness as well as with other things. So I take, for my sigils, I take Sigil of Agility, because that's more quickness, so that's kind of like more of this power precision as well. But also because when you swap to sword and pistol, it's kind of like you want to like finish someone off really quickly, and that's why annulment's really good as well, because you could remove like a boon like stability or protection, and you can land your pistol whip, and that will do a lot of damage. You can see over here I'll hit a target with my buffs up. You can see I do 8k with my pistol whip, so that can do a lot of damage. Annulment and agility are both on an 18-second cooldown, so when you swap to your sword, you really want to look for like finishing people off and doing a lot of damage, because those are two really high priority or high effective, they're very effective sigils. And on my rifle I have Sigil of Separation, because you want more modifiers, and usually on rifle you're going to be at least 500 distance away. And then I also take energy on rifle because of how silent scope works, which is whenever you dodge roll while wielding a rifle, you will go into stealth. And how this works is it doesn't require combat anymore, but you'll get stealth, and then you'll get a debuff called silent scope, and then that's a 10-second cooldown. But when you kneel, you'll remove that, and then you can stealth again with your dodge roll. So why it's important to have energy is because when you swap to your rifle, you might be in a situation where you're like, oh, I need to get stealth, so let me swap to rifle, but then you also might not have enough energy. So what energy does is I mean, unless you're at absolute 0 energy, it'll usually get you enough energy or endurance. It'll usually get you enough endurance to be able to use at least 1 dodge and then get that stealth you need to like peel out or something. So let's look at the abilities of the rifle. So Skirmisher Shot is a really fast attack animation. You can spam it really fast, and it gives you swiftness, and it pierces, which is really good because none of the other abilities on the rifle will pierce. So if there's like a bunch of like people at the mid node and you're like in a team fight and you know for sure the kneel attack also pierces, and you know for sure like it's gonna get body blocked, just spam 2 and it will pierce, and it'll hit your target if they're in range. While kneeling, you'll also give yourself Vigor and Fury, which is not bad because Fury gives you might. It has an ICD, but Vigor is also not available on this build at all except from this ability. So because I don't have Bountiful Theft, which is really good, by the way, that 10 seconds of Vigor. So if you do need like more dodge rolls, you can always just spam 2 for Vigor. And the immob is okay. It's not amazing because you're not Deadly Arts, so you don't get Panic Strike, but it's still pretty good. And the build actually kind of does lack swiftness as well, because I don't take Thrill of the Crime, and my only way of getting swiftness is from Sword 2, Agility Sigil, and from Haste, which isn't really that much swiftness. So using Rifle 2 just for swiftness, say like you kill someone and you're just bleeding them out waiting while they're capping the node, you could be like stacking up swiftness like this, and I have 26 seconds of swiftness and I can rotate out with that swiftness. So this is a really good utility skill. In my opinion, it's very undervalued as a skill, and like I said, you have really high crit chance. So if I'm looking to get Malice really quickly, it's one of the fastest ways to get it. Like I'm way overcapped on Malice there because there's no aftercast on Skirmisher's Shot, so you can just spam it. So like it's faster than auto attacking, right? But if you're really looking for like that's sort of like a burst play. If you're looking for actual DPS, the highest damage that you want to do is with the 3 skill, double tap and 3 round burst. So it gives you might depending on how many times it hits, which will easily cap your might out very fast. See, look at that. And it also does the most damage because it's multiple hits and they all do pretty decent damage. So kneeling with 3 round burst, that's going to be your highest damage. Another thing is your kneel ability it'll reset your, like, see right here, if I get the silent scope thing and then I kneel, and if I dodge, I don't have the silent scope cooldown because I'm still kneeling. So while you're kind of like trying to DPS, you can kind of like dodge while kneeling and be like, hey, I'm doing damage. Oh, this guy sees me. I'll just stealth over here, reveal myself. Okay, you gotta wait for the reveal though, and then you can dodge again. So Death's Retreat is a really good utility skill. It's very similar to the Staff 2 on Mesmer, and how it works is you port backwards, and you can obviously, about face and then port forwards. You'll do poison, which is very, very negligible. I don't see that ever being useful in a situation where you need like poison, but and the damage will reveal you. So you gotta be careful if you're like in stealth and then someone's near you and you need to just retreat. You gotta get away from them and then just retreat so you don't reveal yourself. But as you can see, it can be spammed very quick in succession. So it's actually faster. It's faster map rotation than short bow, but it has less mobility than the short bow because it's not a ground target. So you can't go up terrain as easily, but you can go up some things that the Mesmer Staff 2 would allow you to go up. So sort of like this thing. Okay, maybe not this thing, but yeah, there are some walls that you will see later that I can port up to, which will give you the ability to get to high ground with this ability. So it's really good because high ground allows you to, you know, stay safe while doing a lot of damage. And then obviously you have your kneel ability here, which is sniper's cover. This isn't really too useful because it requires you to stay near it, and if you're staying in one place, then that means you're kind of vulnerable. But it's kind of nice for, I guess, doing this. You can do like finisher for stealth, but usually when I'll do a stealth finisher, it'll be with black powder into DESC retreat. And why that's really good is because when I start in black powder and then I swap to if I'm in combat, I'll get quick pockets as well. So if I swap from black powder into DESC retreat, I'll gain 3 initiative from quick pockets, and I'll pretty much always have enough for DESC retreat because I'll need to have just 2 more initiative. So that's a pretty good combo there. If you're like kiting and you need stealth and you don't have your dodge roll up or you don't have shadow meld up, it just adds to your you know, initiative is such a renewable resource that if you get stealth from that, it's like you don't have to waste shadow meld, you don't have to waste your dodge rolls, so that's good. And so your sword skills are they're very one-sided in a way because this build has absolutely no sustain to it. So the only survivability on this is maybe the blind, maybe the evade on pistol whip, which is kind of clunky, to be honest. I wouldn't rely on surviving, you know, to cleave something on this weapon set because you have no other kind of sustain. But the sword too is one of the big things that will give you survivability on this weapon set because it's quite abusive to the conquest game mode right now because of how easily you can put no investment into your positioning because you can easily just port back like that. But as you can see, just go in and you can do a little pistol whip and then port back out. And headshot's not too useful, but the utility of interrupting something is there. And obviously black powder, if you really need to be defensive, you can put black powder on yourself and then auto attack maybe. But yeah, generally when you're using sword, you're going to use sword 2 in, maybe do a little auto attack, and then you're going to want to spam pistol whip to evade things. And then finally we have our stolen abilities, which are DESC Judgment. So when you have Malice to your marked target, DESC Judgment does more damage. So right now that target didn't have a lot of Malice on it, right? So let me actually recharge my mark, by the way, which is kind of useful to know that your mark recharges when you kill something, but using the mark again doesn't really give you anything except quickness, so it's not too useful in this build to kill your target quickly to get your mark up again. But when your mark gets targeted, you want to be generating Malice because here I'm getting a little too much damage to the target. But as you can see, I can roll for stealth, and then my stealth attack is just Judgment, which does a decent amount of damage. I would compare it to double tap or triple round burst, but see, this is without Malice, so I did like 5k without Malice. So with Malice, my mark also gives me malice as well. So with full malice, it does like 8k. It can do more. Obviously, that's a heavy target, but the thing about Death's Judgment is you're not really using it to do damage. You're just kind of doing it when you're in stealth, because like you want to peel for yourself, and then when you're already in stealth from peeling for yourself, then you use Death's Judgment, because it's just free damage, right? Because if you're already in stealth, it costs no initiative, but otherwise generally stacking up might with 3-round burst is more damage. So like 6k there, but that it can actually do 11k, so it depends. I think Death's Judgment might be a little bit bugged because it's been hitting pretty hard even though it's been nerfed, but it's a pretty good skill. And then, you know, obviously the stolen ability, or the malicious ability for the sword, isn't very useful. It just gives you endurance back. So yeah, that's generally all the skills that you'll want to use for this build. And now I'm going to show you guys some of the build in action. Okay, so here is a Skyhammer solo queue match as the Keen Observer Deadeye. And on the other team has a Revenant and a Thief, which can actually be really scary for me. Mantra Mesmers are also pretty scary. Connie Mesmer is not as scary, but they can chase you. Anything that can chase you, like assassins and stuff like that, is pretty dangerous because you're pretty vulnerable. But Skyhammer is a really good map for Deadeye because there are a lot of no port spots that you can stand on that are next to nodes, so you can have presence in fights while also being somewhat safe. So right off the start, I'm going to be going for the jump pad so I can get to a safe spot to free cast from. And as you can see, I do a lot of damage. So I'm going to cleave out that Thief and rally my Guardian, who I think was going to get rezzed anyways. And yeah, in a team fight like this, when I'm on sword, the only survivability I have is Pistol Whip, so I want to be spamming that. So get these kills and maybe rally this Ranger. He doesn't rally, but we can get this, we can pressure this. Yeah, I'm just finding, as you can see, I kind of like find a high spot, because if I'm just standing in any old spot, then I'll be line of sighted by like just the ground. So you always want to find like a high point to use your rifle from. And as you can see here, this Revenant is a little bit pressured. He should be playing aggressively here, because the only way he's going to survive is by playing aggressively and pressuring me off. But he's probably low on cooldowns from the mid fight, so we get the kill there. And here we're just going to do a quick +1. As you can see, my positioning is not very good, so it can easily be line of sighted there, so I just leave. I don't waste too much time, but I do know that I can get the full cap for my Guardian here. So I stay around to use my sword through the wall, and I do get the full cap. So at this point I can just leave, and I baited the Ranger's heal, so I can definitely leave now. Because if he doesn't put that heal on the node, then my Guardian doesn't get slowed and crippled and stuff, so that's pretty good. And now I just move over to mid using Death's Retreat, and I see the Thief is coming, so I go back to the no port spot with the jump pad, and I just counter pressure. And as you can see, he can't really do anything because he has to swap to short bow, which is not as good at counter pressuring. But the Guardian is also on me, and my teammates are not really peeling for me at all, so I just have to play completely safe here and keep going into the no port spot and kiting more. And as you can see, the Thief is still on me, and I have to make do with what I have, and the Rev is here as well. So like, the only thing I should do is survive. Like, my teammate, if he can't survive while I'm kiting, then that's his issue, but I can't really rely on him to peel for me, so I need to play as safe as possible with my positioning. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep evading when I go in, and then I stealth here just to keep peeling again because my ranger needs to be able to survive by himself, which he can't, but because of the low pressure that my team had there, I think maybe we were outnumbered. Yeah, we just need to leave there. And I go to the bell, and this is a really free kill here. Any kind of like positioning here that I can get, which gives me free cast ability, just allows me to kill things really fast. So we get the bell, and our NG is 1v1ing a Necro at far, and their thief is 1v2ing at our home. Okay, he's with the Rev. Okay, so he killed our... So we're losing home. For sure, I shouldn't go there. I'm just going to go to mid and get kills with Naru. That's probably the best play. Because I want to stay with... Like, if I rotate around our damage, then the fact that I don't have high chase potential with this build gives me more kill potential because I don't need to do that much damage. I just need to do some damage. So, normally as a normal thief build, you can chase down kills much better because you're melee and you're mobile. But I didn't play this correctly because I saw the Revenant came up to the jump pad and I knew he could port on me. What I should have done was get off the line of sight spot, and that way the Revenant would have to get off the line of sight spot too to port to me, and then from there I would have a little bit more time to get my cooldowns for my dodge and my stealth. So I could have survived a little bit longer there if I would have just jumped off instead of try to go for the stealth sooner. And I think we're gonna, yeah, see how our team is now all dying because I'm dead. Because when you die, you lose so much presence because the team can just go ham because there's no presence from you. They don't have to play carefully and think, oh, where's the Deadeye at? So yeah, surviving is always the main thing that you want to do as a thief, because you're just not useful while you're dead, right? And you actually do have a lot of survivability on this build, which is pretty nice with Trickster and the amount of stealth that I have. But of course, I don't really position myself very well here. I'm kind of just like running around in bad positioning here. And we're also outnumbered, so you should think, well, we're outnumbered, so why am I even here? Like, is there any kill potential? And usually, if there's like kill potential and you're in an outnumbered situation, it's still a kind of like a bad idea to do it anyways, because it's a really greedy play. But we do get the counter kill on this thief because he does the exact opposite, or he does the exact same thing that I did and stays for too long for a kill, which is out of his range. It's a greedy play, right? So we get that, and then we go to the bell and we just free cast. So the Necro's in like a bad spot, so I swap to the Guardian, and from here, yeah, the Necro is a free kill. So just getting kills is more important than trying to take even fights, because that's my job, is to get kills, not to contest nodes. And here I have the Revenant chasing me and the Thief chasing me. So all I need to do, once again, is just survive. So go in stealth and then just get out of dodge. Just port everywhere. DESC Retreat is really good for porting completely out of situations if you just spam it in the right direction. And here I rotate into a 2v2, but Naru's already down. So I really should be leaving, but the thing is, like, I can't really leave because they have a Core Guardian and he could burst me. So I need to play safe, and the Thief is also on me. So yeah, I need to play super safe here. Just play to survive. So I immediately find the closest no port spot, and I just wait for my cooldowns here. And as you can see, I'm not really being chased anymore because they decided to leave. If they did continue chasing me, I would be able to survive because I chose the safest option to survive here. and they would waste more time. But instead, they rotated to mid and killed our Guardian. So they didn't make the best play to chase me, but they eventually decided to go and kill our Guardian. But since I didn't die, we can counter pressure this thief when he overextends and counter punish them for their positioning here. And I spam the 2 skill on rifle because Sword Dagger Thief has to dodge to survive, and you can't dodge while you're immobed. And half the evades from Sword Dagger Thief, they can't use while they're immobed. So it really limits their ability to chain evade because it messes with the rotation here. And so at this point, I'm rotating into another 2v2, but my teammate is already dead. So I try to get a quick kill, but the Guardian rallies before I can cleave it. And I play greedily again because I'm trying to outplay my opponents, whereas I'm not trying to like make an intelligent play here. So I just stealth up again because I realize the kill is out of range. And I just start playing, I start playing smart. I play to survive. And the Rev is still hot on my tail, but I be a keen observer here, and I wait for the right moment to escape. And I think at this point you can see our NG is now AFK in base, so the thief is completely free to just +2 this where the Guardian and the Rev are here. So there's like 2v3. So at this point in the game, it's a 4v5 for the rest of the game, and it's just not winnable because it's 4v5, even though we have a lead like this. So it's unfortunate, but that kind of gives you an idea of how to play as the keen observer Deadeye.